We just did a review of this, the Hori Split Pad Pro, a controller I've been super excited for because it gives the option of an official Joy-Con replacement that's a lot larger and just straight up more comfortable. And a question I saw a lot of people ask after we did a review of this was, how does it compare to using a grip attached to regular Switch Joy-Cons? Which is a great question and really well timed, because something else that just came out is the new SwitchGri Pro from Satisfye, which is an upgraded version of their already popular Switch Grip. So we're going to take a look at what makes this grip awesome. We're going to go over the main benefits of the Split Pad Pro again, and then see head-to-head which of them is right for you. Now, in the past when I've talked about grips for the Switch, the two main ones that I've really grown to like are the original version of the Satisfye grip and the Skull & Co. And the main reason why I kind of go for both of these and don't just say, hey, this is the best one or this is the best one, is because they had different strengths. The Skull & Co. in particular had different grip sizes you could pick, so if you had larger or smaller hands, there were choices, and it's a little more of a traditional symmetrical style grip design. On the other hand, the original version of the Satisfye grip, their main focus was this idea of having an asymmetric grip where the right handle just goes a little further out than normal, and the reason for that is so that your thumb can naturally rest on the right thumbstick. So any kind of game that involves dual stick controls, like a lot of shooters or 3D action games, this was a lot more comfortable because that's where your hands are resting at all times. And while this design choice was a very large strength for the Satisfye grip, it did also make it something that was a little more specialized. You know, there were some games where, especially if you wanted to use ABXY a lot, I felt like the Skull & Co. is maybe a little more comfortable, whereas again, anything with dual stick controls, this was the way to go. Well, the new Satisfye SwitchGri Pro is designed to really address that issue and instead goes for something that's a little more of a compromise between those two designs. It still has the asymmetric grip design, but on the right handle this time, it's not nearly as largely pronounced. It's a little less off angle and it's a little smaller as well. This makes it a lot more comfortable for a variety of hand sizes. It's not just targeted at larger hands. And more importantly, it's this really nice midpoint where you are comfortable when using both sticks, but it doesn't feel like quite as much of a stretch to go to ABXY. So it's a really nice balance of those two styles. That alone, I think, is a great upgrade and honestly makes this probably a bigger go-to choice than normal. But something else they did with this that's really cool, let me actually get the Switch out of here real quick, is all these little red dots you see here. Now what this is they added a lot of internal cushioning with these rubber grips, so whenever you're putting your Switch inside of the SwitchGri Pro, it's not actually scraping against the plastic itself, it's actually being held in place by all this little rubber. So this accomplishes two things. First off, it makes it so that whenever you're putting the Switch into the grip or taking it out, it's rubbing more against the plastic that's soft right here rather than the hard plastic of the main case. And that's gonna make it so that you're not going to scuff up your Switch nearly as easily. The second benefit is that while your Switch is sitting inside of this grip, there's actually a very thin layer of just open air between the hard case and the Switch, and that's gonna allow the Switch to dissipate heat a lot better. So especially when you're playing for a long period of time with this grip, if you're playing any kind of game that drives up the heat on your Switch, it's not going to be nearly as bad as it could have been with the older design. And to be fair, the original design wasn't causing Switches to overheat or having any kind of major thermal issues, but this is just helping to keep it down a little bit more, and especially since the new Switch also has better thermals, it just makes it a little better for the system to make sure that it's not going to start cracking in places because of long-term exposure to high heats. On paper, these are the two real big differences between the SwitchGri Pro and its previous design, and they're both huge improvements. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's a big enough change that if you own the older version of the grip, you absolutely have to rebuy and upgrade to this one, though there's still maybe a little reason to consider that, but it's definitely a big enough change that it makes this one of the leading choices now for which grip to go for. While cases like the Satisfye SwitchGri Pro try to fix the comfort issue of the Switch in handheld mode by giving you extended handles on the regular design, the Hori Split Pad Pro has the different approach of just straight up replacing the controllers themselves, which has some kind of built-in ups and downsides. By changing out the entire controller itself, you're not just getting a different grip design, but you're getting different buttons, sticks, and everything else too, for better or worse. And in the case of the Split Pad Pro, everything in general is just a little bit larger, which I do find to be more comfortable personally. I like having larger ABXY buttons and the larger sticks, which allow for a little more precise control compared to the smaller sticks on the Joy-Cons. Topping that off, there are some additional features on the Split Pad Pro as well, including turbo buttons for each one and a remappable back button that is specific to each side. Now, the trade-off for these benefits is that you do lose some features that are associated with regular Joy-Cons. You can't remove them and use them wirelessly, although the argument is you'd probably already have Joy-Cons, you can swap between those when you need to for that situation. But while using these, you also don't have any rumble, nor do you have the ability to scan for amiibo, and you do not have motion controls. Speaking of ways to customize your Switch, an easy and awesome way to do it is with skins like these from today's sponsor, dbrand. They make a whole bunch of different designs and colors you can choose from to use on the Joy-Cons, the Switch itself, and even on the dock. If you want more details, check out the link down below. Again, when you want those features, you can still use regular Joy-Cons if you like, but it does mean that you kind of have to pick and choose which style controller you want for specific games, and that means having to choose either those functions that are standard old school Joy-Cons or the added comfort and larger button size of the Split Pad Pro. And just to emphasize, everything being larger on here does make a difference, because I was playing with this thing non-stop after we first received one so I could play it and really get a sense for it and review it, and the moment I switched back to using regular Joy-Cons, I felt the difference. Everything just felt a lot more smushed together, it was tinier. I was still able to play on it, but I definitely noticed a less comfortable experience right off the bat. Now, both of these are great ways to improve the comfort of using your Switch in handheld mode, but if you had to choose between grabbing the Split Pad Pro or a grip for your Switch, which way should you go? Well, let's take a look at some of the main benefits that each one offers that the other one doesn't. Now, in the case of the SwitchGri Pro, you're getting a more comfortable design while at the same time maintaining all the benefits of using actual official Nintendo Joy-Cons. This includes the ability to use motion controls, having the ability to scan amiibo, and having rumble, which will feel a little bit different because obviously it's coming through these handles instead of directly holding the Joy-Cons, but still, you have rumble. An added benefit of grips like this one and some other companies out there is the fact that you can buy not only the grip, but cases that are designed to fit both the Switch and grip at the same time. So if you want to be able to just keep your Switch in your grip at all times, there's a case that it'll fit in that can also fit games, accessories, all that kind of good stuff. By comparison, at least right now, there are no cases designed to specifically fit the Switch while the Split Pad Pro is connected. It isn't that big of a deal if you just want to store them separately and connect them every time you take it out of a bag, but there is something very nice about having a case that specifically fits something so you can just pull it out, already connected, and you're good to go. Fun fact, by the way, when we were first reviewing this, none of the cases I currently owned could fit the Switch while these were attached. After we got the Satisfye grip in, the case it came with will actually just barely fit this all as one unit. So if you're the kind of person that's actually interested in buying both of these, there's kind of this little accidental synergy going on. Now, as for the benefits of the Split Pad Pro, again, while you are losing all those kind of stock Joy-Con functions, one of the biggest things this adds that is still super useful is additional buttons on the back. This is a really common feature in a lot of third-party controllers, especially Pro ones, and it is a major game changer for some specific games, because having the option to do things like jump using one of these buttons while never having to take your thumbs off the sticks is a major benefit. Sure, there are specific titles where you're gonna want motion controls or you'd like to have rumble, but there's a lot of other titles out there where this easily trumps those options. Another big benefit of using this over regular Joy-Cons in a grip is that one feature a lot of people don't like on the regular Joy-Cons is that they use those 4 buttons on the left one instead of having a traditional D-pad, which you'll notice this has. So if you're a big fan of having a D-pad, that is a gigantic bonus. It is worth noting that Hori does also make a D-pad Joy-Con, but because of how it's shaped, not all grips necessarily will fit using one. So you can try to get kind of a balance of both at the same time, but depending on your grip of choice, does not always work out. So far when it comes to functions, a lot of it kind of comes down to what specific games you like to play and which benefits look more appealing to you. But when it comes down to the big question of which of these is more comfortable, it's kind of oddly not that cut and dry. As far as the grip alone is concerned, the Satisfye is more comfortable. It is a more full grip design. I'm able to kind of grip it with my entire hand. The Hori Split Pad Pro is just a little smaller, it's shorter, it's definitely better than a Joy-Con, but it's just not quite the same as a full grip. However, the Split Pad Pro has larger everything else, like I said earlier, bigger sticks, bigger buttons, and a lot of that plays into being a lot more comfortable over prolonged use. So they're both more comfortable in different ways, and it's hard to really nail down in the long run which one feels better on my hands. It kind of depends on, again, what kind of game I'm playing. Honestly, the truth is I think both of these are super great, and I don't think there's a hard objective answer of, hey, this is the one to go for, because again, they just have different specific strengths and different special functions. A really important thing I think to look at is what kind of games you like playing and what specific bonus features are going to be more useful to you. Do you really want to have motion controls? Then a grip's the way to go. Do you want to have the extra button on the back and having a D-pad? The Split Pad Pro would be the way to go. Either way, both of these are way better than using the regular Joy-Cons by themselves.